meetings of the Peace and Security Council with the insights on issues to be discussed by the Council. The Institute has been actively participating in the meetings of the Peace and Security Council, especially during the open sessions, and contribute its views to the debate. Furthermore, it has been consulting with various chairpersons of the Peace and Security Council, exchanging views and insights on the state of peace and security in the continent. Since its establishment, Amani Africa has published 2 critical documents in relation to the work of the PSC, namely the Insight on the Peace and Security Council, which was launched in February 2018, and the recent publication is the one we are launching today, the Handbook of the Peace and Security Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to highlight that the work of Amani Africa is in line with the Article 20 of the Protocol relating to the establishment of the Peace and Security Council, as well as the PSC conclusions of Livingstone and Maseru, which emphasize the role and participation of the African research institutions in complementing and supporting the work of the PSC. Let me briefly talk about the handbook, which is being launched today. This handbook aims at providing an independent guide to the public on the PSC's procedures, practices, and traditions. It should be noted that since the establishment of the Peace and Security Council, this is the first time an independent handbook has been produced, providing guidance to the public on how the PSC conducts its business. Members of the PSC will recall that the Council, in fact, has its own manual on working methods. In this connection, if you give a close look to this handbook, you will notice that it has elaborated and made it simpler to understand the working methods of the PSC. In this regard, I would like to mention 3 main points regarding the handbook which I have discovered. The first one, this is a commendable work which guides not only the PSC members or AU member states on the working method of the work of the PSC, but also all African citizens, including researchers. Secondly, this handbook has been produced by an African institution with the support of some of the AU member states and the AU Commission. It is a piece of work which should make us Africans proud of. Thirdly, it is commendable that Amani Africa chose to launch this handbook with the African Union member states before circulating it to other users. Such a decision reflects Amani Africa's recognition of the contribution of the AU member states to its work. Having said that, it's now my singular pleasure to introduce our main speakers today. The first one and the most important is His Excellency Ambassador Mohamed Idris Farah, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Djibouti to the African Union and the Chairperson of the Peace and Security Council for the month of September 2020. I would like to say that it is a welcome coincidence that this handbook is being launched during the month which Ambassador Idris is chairing the PSC, because he is a good friend and supporter of activities of Amani Africa, and also to Dr. Solomon Deso. Our second speaker was supposed to be the Director for Peace and Security Department, Dr. Admo Kambuzi. Dr. Kambuzi was supposed to be with us to launch this handbook, but due to the fact that he's in a place where the internet is a challenge, he has sent his apology. He told me that he is at his farm. We all know that Dr. Kambuzi is a farmer. Dr. Kambuzi has been an inspiration to the drafting of this handbook from its very inception. He is an AU institution memory, and not only on the work of the PSC, but also on the work of the AU Commission. His insights and guidance have greatly contributed to the successful completion of this handbook. We really appreciate his support on this activity. The last presenter, who is the key player in today's event, is my friend Dr. Solomon Deso. Dr. Solomon Deso is the founding director of Amani Africa and the lead author of the handbook being launched today. With this work and his cooperation with the PSC member states, Dr. Solomon Deso has paved the way for other African institutions to emulate his effort in publicizing and promoting the work of the PSC, which is really appreciated. I should also mention that Dr. Solomon has been participating in and make presentations in several PSC meetings addressing different thematic issues. Excellencies, I'll be remiss if I ended my introductions without mentioning and thanking my sister, Ambassador Catherine Mwangi, the permanent representative of the Republic of Djibouti, and also a member of the Peace and Security Council, for the foreword in the handbook. In her foreword, she said that, I'll quote, "While there is increasing knowledge on the program of work of the PSC and its agenda, a lot remains unknown on the structures, tools, processes, and working methods," which is very true. Indeed, this handbook has come to cover this gap. We thank you, Dr. Solomon. Finally, let me invite Ambassador Mohamed Idris Farah, chairperson of the PSC for the month of September, to make his remarks. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Merci, Nema.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nema, for giving me the floor, and most of all for being the moderator for this launching of the Amani Institution Handbook on peace and security. I salute my friend Solomon, Britannia, and also my sister Catherine, who is among us today. I'm not forgetting Remark. It is a privilege for me to be among you this morning in order to take part in the launching of this first handbook. I'm very proud. I'm very proud because from the beginning I've been following Amani. I've been in Addis Ababa for 9 years now. I saw Amani from the beginning, and I always consider Amani as to be a very essential tool for peace and security, for not only for the Peace and Security Council, but all the African countries. We always listen to the information as devised by foreign countries, but now we have a group of Africans who are doing the job, and that is why I'm very happy, not only because I'm taking part in this launching, but I'm taking part as the ambassador of Djibouti and also as the chairperson for the PSC for this month. I think it was very important for me to take part in this, and I'm very lucky for that. I'm not only a very close friend of Amani's, but I'm also the first supporter of their thinking from the beginning. I've always encouraged them ever since I arrived in Addis Ababa, and ever since I met Dr. Solomon and his team. He has always encouraged African countries to take advantage of this think tank, which is very permanent and talking about the activities of the Peace and Security Council. I'm here saluting them for the effort that they are making, and they are encouraging Africa because they are always working with states in order to help them with the information that they provide them with. And I've always used their information whenever possible, whenever I attend meetings of the Peace and Security Council, and I do that also as a member of this council. I always use the thoughts and reflection which are provided by our friend from Amani, Africa. And this makes it possible for us to have a very good kind of reflections. But dear colleagues, allow me to greet each and every one of you and to thank you once again for being here this morning, because it is very important for us to launch together the first copy of Amani Africa, which is a reflection ever since I met Dr. Solomon in my office, I've kept discussing with him, and he gave me the honor of receiving the first copy of this handbook. And for 1 week during my holidays, I've read this book, and I said to myself that I was not going to work whilst I was in holiday, but this was not really working, but it was really, it was a pleasure to read the handbook whilst I was in holiday. And that made it possible for me to reminisce all the conversations that I've had with Dr. Solomon and his team. As you know, the council should encourage NGOs and other organizations from other civil organizations to take part actively in the effort to promote peace and security in Africa. And this is really reinforced by Article 21 and 22 of the regulation of the CPS, and we recognize the roles of the institutions and research institutions. On the basis of the conclusion of the Dakar retreat, we had put together a modality of engagement with these institutions following the formula of Livingston. It is on the basis of this framework that we know that we have to work with civil society organizations and other organizations. And Amani is bringing us, as the guide, the handbook says, it's talking about the working methodology of the PSC, and it's making very good analysis of the situation. This is a very important aspect, because we are considering when we're considering a particular topic at the PSC. Most of the time, we do not have any support. We don't have the in-depth information. All the information we get, they come from foreign countries outside the African continent. But this is, Amani is doing this job now. And the second thing I would like to say is that we work with the research institution, and we exchange knowledge in order to sensitize the public about the activities that are carried out by the Peace and Security Council. The contribution of such African organization is very important in order to allow our institution to tell this African stories by African authors, and this is a very important step. And that is why the roles of institutions like Amani becomes really relevant. During the last 2 years, Amani Africa has provided us with a very useful analysis in its regular publications inside the Security Council, Peace and Security Council, and this provides a very good understanding of different topics that we discuss in our meetings. Consequently, the technical contribution that is provided by Amani Africa to the Peace and Security Council is very necessary, and all the information is an additional support to our engagement and to our discussion. And this makes it possible for us to have a useful contribution that is enriching our debates. And even in the past, when Djibouti was presiding over the Peace and Security Council. I've always appreciated the information that was provided by Amani. And the future chairperson of the Peace and Security Council, I'm advising them whenever possible to always consult Amani, especially when we are really submerged with work. So sometimes the agenda of the Peace and Security Council meetings is really very heavy, but what I'm telling my colleagues, members of the council, and those who are going to take over from me later on, I'm encouraging them, I'm asking them to interact with Amani at least once a month, or if not every month, every 3 months. I'm advising them to have an interaction with Amani, and I think this is going to enrich their work because Amani is a very useful tool. And most of the time, members of the council, member councils of the council do not use Amani, but and that is why this morning I'm trying to tell those who do not know the activities that Amani Africa is carrying out to read this handbook so that they can understand the importance of the work that Amani Africa is playing. And I hope that my colleagues who are taking part in this launching this morning will understand and will get some inspiration from the reflection that are included in this handbook, and they can enrich their work by interacting with Amani Africa every now and then. So this handbook is contributing significantly to the documentation and production of knowledge for the PSC to really enrich their work. And it is also a contribution to a supplement to the existing knowledge. As my colleague Catherine of Kenya said, this handbook is a point of reference in our work, in the work of the council, and how others can understand the council. And this handbook is very useful. It's giving us information about the 15 years of the existence of the Peace and Security Council, its practices, its working methodologies, and everything. And this handbook is presenting the different dimensions of the Peace and Security Council, which shows that there's been a lot of progress that has been realized. The handbook is also giving some detailed information which will be very useful to the new members of the Peace and Security Council. They can understand and have mastery of the methodology of the working methodology of the Peace and Security Council. To understand how to use it, to use this tool efficiently, I think that this launch today is giving us the opportunity to contribute to some aspect that can be corrected. This handbook is the first edition. I'm very proud today to be part of this platform that is launching this first edition of Amani Africa. And I hope that other series of handbook on the lead will follow under the leadership of Dr. Solomon. And it is also important that member states help Amani Africa to give details to detailed information to Amani Africa. And the publishing of this handbook is very important because it is giving an idea about the practices and tradition at the Peace and Security Council. Most of our African people whom we are representing at the Peace and Security Council do not know very well the activities that are carried out by the Peace and Security Council. They don't know the importance of this Peace and Security Council and the role that it is playing. That is why I'm inviting the members of the Council and other African Union members to really focus on the Peace and Security Council and to read this handbook, which is focusing on the work of the Peace and Security Council. I'm really congratulating Amani Africa for the work that has been done, and I hope that we'll continue with those activities. At this time that we are launching this book, we are waiting with impatience the next edition, which I hope will be richer than this one, and I'm very sure that it will be richer thanks to the contributions of each and every one of us, members of the Council and other members of the African Union. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Idris, for your kind word about the handbook. And you have said it very well, that it is important for African stories to be told by our African institutions. So this is a good example which has been set by Amani, and you say that is something which to be emulated by others. And I really like the encouragement you put to other member states that they should interact more with the Amani Africa. I know that the missions here in Addis Ababa are very busy, but if you give 5 minutes, 10 minutes to Amani Africa, it helps this institution to get correct information from actual member states, and this will also help them to efficiently promote and support the work of the African Union, especially on peace and security issues. So, Ambassador, thank you very much. Now I'll invite Dr. Solomon Deso to come up for his remark on the handbook. Dr. Solomon, you have the floor.
Thank you so very much, Nema, Acting Secretary of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished ambassadors, members of the Peace and Security Council, Excellencies, permanent representatives of the African Union member states, Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Idris, Chairperson of the PSC for the month of September. Ambassador, I can't thank you enough for your constant and unfailing encouragement and support for us to contribute towards supporting the activities of the Peace and Security Council, but also to grow in our delivery of policy research on matters of common interest for all of us on the African continent. I also like to thank you for a very open door policy that you always have whenever we ask you for any information or whenever we seek your engagement with us. And indeed today, for this excellent support that you have accorded us as the chair of the PSC for launching the PSC and the PSC handbook. I also wish to join my colleague Bitania in expressing appreciation to all members of the PSC, past and present, who for a very long time, even as Nema rightly pointed out, despite their very busy schedule, have been generous enough to engage with us, provide us with information, but also interact with us. I wish to thank those members of the PSC who, during their chairship, also interacted with us in their program, monthly program of work, and also in allowing us to participate, including most recently, as you recall, when Lesotho was the chair of the Peace and Security Council during the 918th session of the PSC. We had the privilege of addressing the Peace and Security Council. I would also like to thank, in the course of preparing the handbook, Ambassador Catherine, who have been again very generous during her chairship of the PSC in April, but also in the course of the preparation of this handbook last year, for her constant engagement and support, as well as for writing the foreword to this handbook. Ambassador, thank you so very much for your support as well. I would like also to acknowledge various other members of the PSC who have been helping us in various ways over the years. Thank you all very much. I also wish to express my deep appreciation to Nema as the acting head of the PSC, but also previous to that, when we were interacting with Dr. Kambudzi, it was also Nema who have been there all the time, particularly in terms of making sure that we get the right information and we present the issues and facts accurately. I think that's extremely important. And we really went along with all the guidance that we have received. Of course, all the mistakes in the handbook remain ours. And as Ambassador Idris said, this launch is organized exclusively for members of the PSC and the wider African Union member states, with the participation of institutional partners of Amani Africa. The reason for that is basically members of the PSC and the wider African Union membership need to be the first to gate and to reflect on this handbook before we have a wider circulation. And this is also an embodiment of the ownership of knowledge production around the African Union, the Peace and Security Council, by the members of this continental institution. It is a reflection of that. So I would like to, therefore, once again, express deep appreciation to all the support that we have received from Dr. Kambudzi, from members of the Secretariat of the PSC, particularly Nema, and I wish also to thank Amadou Diong, as well as Simon, for their unfailing support all along, and all colleagues in the PSD, of course. In this introductory, remark that I'm going to make, I would like to highlight a few points, which helps, I think, me to put not just the handbook, but I think the work of the PSC in a historical context. And therefore, I wish to make reference to quite a number of prominent African personalities in that respect. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues and friends of Amani, Africa's is a history of a struggle for self-determination. None other than the quest for achieving control over our politics, culture, geography, and economics can best capture the essence of the political history of our continent. In the different historical epochs, this quest for self-determination was expressed in different forms. Apart from rejection of slavery and racial discrimination and inequality, this quest in its recent past took the form of the heroic struggle for freedom from the bonds of colonialism and racial discrimination. In the aftermath of the Cold War and the onset of what seems to be an ending multipolar world order in the 21st century, this struggle is best expressed in Africa's quest for Pax Africana, a peace that is protected and maintained by Africa itself. This word Pax Africana was used by the renowned political scientist, Kenyan political scientist, the late Ali Mazrui, Today, Pax Africana is very much associated with and given expression through the Pan-African political ideal of African solutions to African problems. A very important avenue through which member states of the AU have sought to give institutional expression to this ideal is the Peace and Security Council, this august body, and the AUPSC, which the Peace and Security Council organizes and deploys on the basis of the protocol establishing the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. So the first personality that I wish to pay homage is Professor Ali Mazrou, who in 1967, at the onset of independence, soon after the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, the predecessor to the AU, articulated this point on the imperative for Africa to protect and maintain its peace by itself. We all also recall the great work that continues to inspire a lot of Pan-Africans within and outside of the continent. And this is the work of the former and first president of Ghana, President Nkrumah, a very strong champion of African unity. And it's interesting to note that peace and security was one of the subjects that President Nkrumah rightly identified as the major focus of African unity. He thus urged newly independent African states that we should aim at the establishment of a unified military and defense strategy. He said this in the early 60s, actually even before that. If you look at his book, Africa Must Unite, he pursued the campaign for a common African security framework during various conferences towards the establishment of the Organization of African Unity. And in his book, he observes the imperative for this common African defense and security policy and framework by making reference to what Africa experienced at the time of independence, the Congo crisis. He, for example, said we need to establish, when he came for the establishment of the AU Charter, we need to establish a joint African High Command composed of the chiefs of staff of the independent African nations. And the chiefs of staff were to meet periodically with a view to ensuring the common defense of Africa in case of aggression against any part of the continent, with a view to safeguarding the independence of African states. And later on, of course, he, in 1963, at the time of establishment of the OAU, he forcefully championed for this very important point. Although his campaign for this didn't in the end become fully functional, when the Defense Commission held its first meeting in 1963, the Defense Commission of the OAU, Ghana proposed again both a Supreme Military Command headquarters responsible for overseeing 4 regional headquarters and a Union Defense Council, to issue the political directives for collective defense. And it is this Union Defense Council that, of course, later on culminated and became today the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. Now, another personality that I wish to make reference to in this, in paying tribute to this work is Salim Ahmed Salim of Tanzania. I think his work laid the foundation in the 1990s for the transition from the Organization of African Unity to the African Union. And in his report in the early 1990s, he said, the present international situation makes it imperative for Africa to map out a strategy in order to face the challenge of the 1990s and lay the foundation for sustained development in the 21st century. End of quote. And as the Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity, he had come to a firm resolve that Africans should rely essentially on their own abilities and resources to change their destiny. Again, you can see the continuity of this theme from President Nkrumah to Professor Ali Mazrui, and then the Excellency Salim Ahmed Salim of Africa, the need for Africa to stand for itself, to have the institutions and the means to protect its peace. And of course, this work later on culminates in the establishment in 1993, as you recall, of the mechanism for conflict prevention and resolution that was established in Cairo. And that was the foundation work for the OAU organ, and which was the basis for the establishment of also the Peace and Security Council. I think many people say, often attribute the idea of Africa taking responsibility and even the idea of sovereignty and responsibility to early 2000. But Ahmed Salim was the first actually to articulate this idea of sovereignty and responsibility when he said that every African is his brother's keeper. And he urged member states that we in Africa need to use our own cultural and social relationships to interpret the principle of non-interference in such a way that we are able to apply it to our advantage in conflict prevention and resolution. So this is the third personality that I wish to acknowledge. Another personality that I wish to acknowledge is former Secretary General Kofi Annan, who, in writing to the Security Council in 1998, his report on conflict resolution in Africa, observed that across Africa in the 1990s, undemocratic and oppressive regimes were supported and sustained . Apologies, the internet disrupted. This is one of the hazards of working virtually. Sorry about that. So the fact that Africa was left to fend for itself came as a challenge to the continent. And I have to say that this challenge was recognized very early on in the 1990s. And this brings me to another prominent personality, and that is President Nelson Mandela of South Africa, who in the OAU summit in July 1994 in Tunis expressed the disappointment of the people of the continent, not only in the international community, but also in the failure of leadership in Africa as well. When he said, I quote, Rwanda stands out as the stern, the genocide in Rwanda stands out as a stern and severe rebuke to all of us for having failed to address Africa's security problems. As a result of that, a terrible slaughter of the innocent has taken place and is taking place in front of our eyes. We know it is a matter of fact that we must have it, that in other Africans, in ourselves as Africans, to change all of this. We must, in action, assert our will to do so. End of quote. And this momentum towards Africa actually bringing that aspiration from the 1960s expressed in the campaign by President Nkrumah, in the intellectual work of Professor Ali Mazrou, culminating in the end, of course, with the transition of the Organization of African Unity to the African Union, thereby Africa demonstrating actually that it is able and willing to take responsibility for peace and security. And I would like to now quote another personality, Ambassador Said Djinnit, who was the first Commissioner for Peace and Security, who puts in profound terms the idea of non-interference and non-indifference to African issues within the framework of the AU and the embodiment of the PSC for that. No more, I quote, never again. Africans can't watch the tragedies developing in the continent and say it is the UN's responsibility or somebody's responsibility. We have moved from the concept of non-interference to non-indifference. We can't, as Africans, remain indifferent to the tragedy of our people. End of quote. The imperative of reviving these ideals and ultimately, of course, embodying this idea culminated in the establishment of the Peace and Security Council. And in 2004, when it was launched, the heads of state and government of the PSC said the inauguration of the council is an historical watershed in Africa's progress towards resolving its conflicts and build durable peace on the continent. At the time, this may be, a self-congratulatory statement, but now 15 years down the line, it proves to be a very prophetic statement. With the establishment of the PSC and its operationalization, Africa has an institution that helps it in the search for achieving the ideals of African solutions to African problems in solidarity and collaboration with the international community. The PSC has become, therefore, the embodiment of the various aspirations and expectations, giving concrete institutional expression towards the fulfillment of the quest for Pax Africana. This handbook serves to not only pay homage to the long intellectual and political thinking that laid down, but also present in one consolidated document the efforts of the PSC during the past 15 years to breathe life into this political ideal of Pax Africana and establish the institutional, procedural, and normative infrastructure for its realization and actualization in practice. I do hope that
la réalisation de tous les vœux.
Putting all of these historical and current records in the work of the Peace and Security Council for public record and for popularizing to not only members of the PSC and the AU, but also, as Nema said, to the wider African public. As you can see from the details of the handbook, it identifies the various actors that play a crucial role in the decision-making process of the PSC, from the chairperson of the MENS, who, for example, is described, if you look at the document, the chairperson is described as, a conductor, basically, because the chairperson presides over the proceedings of the PSC, but also a spokesperson, because the chairperson can explain to the public the work of the PSC and the decisions of the PSC, and also the one organizing the
sur les trois candidats. Comment tu veux dire je suis pays arabe en votant? Tu n'es pas obligé de dire.
In this document, including in the final part, a statistical analysis of all the work that the PSC has done. I think I would like to also acknowledge, very importantly, the relationships that the PSC has built, not only within the continent with REX, which is reflected in this document, but also globally, and most notably with the United Nations broadly, and the United Nations Security Council specifically, and as well as the European Union. As I end my remarks, I would like to finally acknowledge the support that Amani Africa has received, particularly as far as the handbook is concerned, from the Embassy of Switzerland for the production and publication of the handbook, and for preparing the launch in terms of this Zoom space. I would like to acknowledge the Embassy of the United Kingdom as well. I wish to thank all other partners, including Germany and Finland. Thank you very much once again for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Solomon, for a broader brief on what this handbook entails. So for those who have not read the book, listening to you, you understand exactly what contains in this handbook. So you said very well that it is imperative that for all Africans to stand for themselves to make sure that peace and security is promoted in our continent. And I believe that this handbook provides the guidance. If you understand well on how the Peace and Security Council works, it gives you an opportunity on how to approach the Peace and Security Council to be able to contribute or support their work on peace and security. So I'm very sure that people who are going to read this book will understand well how the council works, and they'll understand better on how to approach the council. And I really appreciate Ambassador Idris said that when he went for holiday, he read this book. So it's encouragement for all other member states to do the same. Especially for those who have never been in the council, it's a very good document. Now, as we finish all the speakers, now we are opening the floor. I think Britannia is there to help us. We are opening the floor to all participants. If you have anything to say about the handbook, even question to Dr. Solomon, the lead author of the document, we appreciate to have you. So the floor is open, and I think you can raise hands if you have anything to contribute. Your Excellencies, you're all welcome to the discussion. Ambassador of Egypt?
Yes.
We take the floor.
Thank you very much, my dear sister Nima. Very much happy and grateful for the kind invitation to attend this important launching meeting of that important handbook. Greetings, of course, to my dearest brother and my elder brother, my Ambassador Mohammed Idris Farah, the overall dean and the current chairperson of the PSC, for availing us that wonderful opportunity. I have followed his input and his sponsorship of that event is highly appreciated. I'm very much happy as well, Nima, to listen to your introductory remarks and the effort you're doing nowadays as the current acting secretary of the PSC. You're doing a great job, my dear sister. You know how much we appreciate your effort all. And I was gratified as well and extremely happy to follow my dear brother, Dr. Solomon Dersu, giving his introductory remarks, and I congratulate him at the head of Amani Africa for launching this extremely important handbook. I have dealt with my brother, Dr. Solomon, for years in different capacities, and I have always seen very high degree of integrity and professionalism. It's no wonder that he has succeeded in issuing that wonderful handbook. I give credit as well and praise those partners who have contributed to the publication of that handbook, the Swiss, others, Germany, and whoever has contributed to that. It's a step into the right direction, and investment you will never regret. I wish to state that I hope this would not be the end of the road. This is the first of what should be like a series of similar handbooks and so on. I see a very large space for development of certain aspects of the report and to keep updating it. For instance, I can give you the first update right away that has to do with the PCRD section, because an African Center for PCRD is about to be fully operationalized in Cairo, African Union Center. A host agreement was signed in Aswan like 1 year ago, and we're about to celebrate its inauguration like within weeks. And we have had several assembly decisions to that effect, so it should be updated. I see a lot of room as well to develop the handbook, enriching the literature in too many aspects. For instance, I hope that Amani Africa will continue the great job they are doing in organizing workshops and so on, and starting to improve the literature we have on the issue of working methods, what type of experiences and practices we should borrow from similar practices of the UN Security Council to customize them to the African traditions and working methods and so on. We still have a very long way to go, and there is much room for improvement. And the issue of capacity building, for instance, the drafting skills and so on, I hope that and encourage our partners to invest more in helping us Africans in the Secretariat at the level of member states to improve the drafting skills of our experts and so on. The way we draft our communiques, we still have some room for improvement and to upgrade the skills of, very honestly and transparently, when you follow what is happening in the council, you'll find like 5-6 members extremely active, extremely contributing, building a sound base of skills to contribute to the work of the council, while others lack sufficient capacities and so on. So we want to upgrade everyone and to make sure that we are all at the same level of expertise and so on and so forth. And speaking under the full authority of the current chairperson of the PSC, my dear brother, Ambassador Muhammad Idris Farah. I hope he can agree with me on that, and very much happy to be with all of you today. Wishing Amani Africa every success, congratulating Nima and the Secretariat for what they have done, and of course the able guidance of Commissioner Shaggy and Dr. Kambutsi. This is what I wanted to say in brief. And thank you. One last word, my dear brother Solomon, I felt you did not give due credit as well to Dr. Boutros Ghali. May he rest in peace. He was one of the very first to spoke about agenda for peace and the regional dimension and so on when he was UN Secretary General at that time, and he paid a very heavy price. We're all familiar with what the US did when he was speaking about democratization of that, the multilateralism and so on and so forth. And he has very pioneering and progressive ideas about the regional organization and its role fitting to that purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for reminding Dr. Solomon and his organization that where they have to look something on PCRD, that the baby of Egypt. So for sure, he has to open maybe a branch in Cairo to be able to focus exactly on the center's work. But I really appreciate, Ambassador, that you have mentioned that this institute can start to even focusing, looking at the issues of workshops on working methods of the PSC. And this is very important because on the PSC side, when you discuss issues of working methods, it's always internal. But I don't think if it's a harm to have an external eye to challenge the PSC, so for the PSC to be able to see more opportunities on how to be effective on the working methods. This can be just an advice of much, Ambassador, for highlighting that. And then Ambassador Catherine, please, you have the floor, Ambassador. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nima, for affording me the opportunity really to express myself at this very special event. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everybody who's on the platform. Let me start by highly congratulating and commending my friend, my brother, Dr. Solomon, and his entire team on the launch of this handbook. It is really a clear demonstration of the commitment that Amani, led by Dr. Solomon, has to really contributing to the larger agenda of peace and security in the continent. So I commend you highly and congratulate you and really appreciate not just the launch of the handbook or the effort that you have put in the handbook, but your total contribution to the work of the PSC and really to the work of peace in many other elements, even in the commission that you're currently chairing. And let me also say just how honored and privileged I am and was to have been given the opportunity to pen the foreword for this for this handbook. I really, as I say, feel completely humbled, and I'm glad that my name is associated with this handbook. I thank you very much, Dr. Solomon, for that opportunity. Chair of the Peace and Security Council for this month, my brother, Ambassador Idris. I'm surprised you didn't realize that when Nima spoke about me, she said I was the ambassador of Djibouti. But I have no problem. We're interchangeable. I can be the ambassador of Djibouti, you can be the ambassador of Kenya. You and I can interchange. But thank you really for your very profound words as you spoke and really put really in place the importance of not just this handbook, but also the work that Amani does and the contribution that they do. So I really want to commend you for, well, first of all, for agreeing to launch the book, and also for the encouragement that you've given to Amani and for the words that you shared, and to say that I totally agree with, with everything that you have said. Without really repeating what, even my brother, Ambassador Osama has said, it's just really, again, to reaffirm the value that we place on the work of Amani collectively, and even all of us individually, those of us who have opportunity to engage, especially with Dr. Solomon. And really to say that this handbook is of great value because it does put together in a very clear and easy to understand way, really the procedures, the practices, the traditions, the working methods, and everything that pertains to the Peace and Security Council. So on one hand, it demystifies what council is. What is the Peace and Security Council? What is its work? How does it work? How does it make its decisions? So it demystifies that, not just for outsiders, but even member states. You know, there are many people who haven't been on council. So it tells them upfront what council does. And hopefully it prepares the minds of those who aspire to be on council. And it should really inform that this is a huge responsibility. And Ambassador Osama, you know, hinted on it, that it's a huge responsibility. And then everybody who comes on council must appreciate that and be prepared to put in the time and the effort and the resources that will be necessary for any member state to be able to be a valuable member of the Peace and Security Council. So that is a huge gap that this handbook will cover. And then of course, you know, and somebody talked about institutional memory. Council is rotational, so people are coming in and going out and coming in and going out. So we need to be able to constantly document. We need to document, how does council work? What was the origins? And even now, today, Solomon has taken us right back, even to the thinking of what we think we created in the Africa Standby Force. You know, these are important because it will inform council and it will retain our integrity. And I think this is important because of the very critical role that council plays. We have such an important role. So it's important that our value and our integrity is maintained, that we do our work in a faithful manner, that we are faithful to council, that the reason why it was established, we work around that and we stop diverting and getting caught up in even individual and sovereign issues at the price and at the cost of the greater good for the continent. And this, you know, this needs to be reinforced in ensuring that even as people come onto council, even as we are serving in council, that we are faithful, that we do not in any way compromise the integrity of council. And I believe that this handbook really will, because, you know, like Ambassador Idris, I was privileged to see and to read it and to engage with it, you know, before today. So really to again thank and commend Amani, Solomon, my dear brother and friend, and to say, you know, that the quality of thought and the quality of work, the quality of word that we experience through Amani is extremely high, is extremely commendable, and that in the PSC engaging with your organization is value adding as opposed to taking away from council. So we thank you, we encourage you to continue in the work that you're doing, and as all of us have been encouraged, both by our dean, you know, the current chair, and Ambassador Osama, a senior diplomat, that there's huge value in each one of us engaging with Amani on a regular basis, and also really, you know, looking for opportunities in which you can also engage with council, because I believe that will be of value. So again, congratulations, high commendations on the launch of this handbook, and thank you very, very, very much, you know, for this amazing tool that you have bequeathed, not just to council, not just to Africa, but the wider world. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Catherine. And my big apology that I said you're from the Republic of Djibouti, but I'm happy that you are fine with that. You used to call Ambassador Idris my brother, so I thought you come from the same place. So I really appreciate that, Ambassador, that you find a huge value engaging with the Amani Africa. These are your words. So I believe that continuing with the Amani Africa will also help Amani Africa to be able to support more the work of the PSC. Ambassador, I really like when you say that this handbook prepares the minds of those who aspire to be members of the Peace and Security Council. This is a very, very important comment which you have to note. Being in the Peace and Security Council is a huge responsibility, so you really want to understand how the PSC work. So thank you for your words, and thank you for emphasizing that this handbook serves as part of the institutional memory of the work of the PSC, that it has taken the member state back to understand how it was working before up to where we are right now. We really appreciate for your kind words and encouragement to Dr. Solomon and his team to continue with more work on peace and security issues. So before we go to partners, I would like to finish maybe member states. So those member states who want to take the floor, if they can raise their hands. I see Cameroon. Please, Cameroon, you can go ahead. You have the floor, sir. Cameroon, you are muted.
De Cameroun, votre micro est éteint.
Oui, je remercie Amani Africa pour la publication de cet important ouvrage. J'ai essentiellement une question. Quel est le titre de la prochaine publication sur le Conseil de paix et de sécurité par cette organisation Amani Africa qui apparaît comme un véritable think tank dans la réflexion sur le maintien de la paix et de la sécurité en Afrique? Et à quand cette prochaine parution? Dans notre culture, qui dit merci en redemande encore. Oui, encore un opuscule, un bouquin, un ouvrage pratique qui restitue en des termes très pratiques la place du CPS dans le système mentionné de l'Union africaine. Il vous souvient que lorsque l'acte constitutif a été adopté, il n'a pas cité le CPS parmi la dizaine d'organes. C'est l'amendement de 2003 à l'acte constitutif qui est venu citer le CPS parmi les organes et qui a précisé le rang protocolaire du CPS par rapport aux autres organes constitutionnels de l'Union africaine. Cet ouvrage, ce guide, permet de comprendre aussi le rôle du CPS dans la mise en œuvre progressive de l'architecture africaine de paix et de sécurité. Il se situe donc dans le prolongement du précédent, qui lui aussi était très attractif, intitulé Insight on the Peace and Security Council. Donc, ces deux publications sont à mettre au crédit de Amani Africa. Et parce qu'ils sont très attractifs, ma question est de savoir à quand la prochaine parution et quel en sera le titre.
Be published and what is going to be the title of the following publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cameroon. The interpretation was not very clear, but I managed to hear your last question. You asked about when is the second publication going to be. I think Dr. Solomon has noted down the question, and then we'll come back to it after we finish the speaking order. I see my ambassador, Ambassador Francisco of Angola. You have the floor, Your Excellency. Ambassador Francisco, Angola. You are muted. If you can unmute your microphone. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
No, thank you for the opportunity to address this important event. Thank you, dear brother Ambassador Mohamed Idris of Djibouti and Chair of the Peace and Security Council for the month of September, and my dear sister Catherine of Kenya for your profound and important messages, as well as of the others who precede us. We would like to commend Amani Africa, particularly my dear brother, Dr. Solomon Derso, for the launch of this African Union Peace and Security Council Handbook, an important document on the procedures, practices, and tradition of this standing decision-making organ of the African Union for the prevention, management, and resolution of conflicts. In the current challenging political, economic, and social context, it is paramount that all African Union member states have a good understanding of how we can find African book will assist us to have a more principle-driven approach to addressing situations of conflict prevention, management, and resolution. Peace and stability in the continent can only be achieved with the strengthening of rule of law, governance, accountability, and inclusiveness in addressing the national agenda in our respective countries. This practical guide on the functioning of the Peace and Security Council will contribute to that. Once again, thank you, Amani. Thank you, Dr. Solomon, for your continued contribution to peace and security in the continent. Thank you.
Very much appreciated for your kind words, Ambassador, Your Excellence. You have emphasized that as Africa, we have to have a principled approach to be able to address the issues of peace and security. And then you have said that this handbook is contributing toward that. I can't agree with you more. This handbook is part of, is a contribution for Africa to be able to address peace and security issues. We really appreciate, Ambassador, for your statement. And I can see we don't have any other member state who wish to take the floor. Yeah, there's Binyam. My brother Binyam, you have the floor. Binyam, we can't hear you. I can see your microphone is on, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Binyam. Binyam, can you hear us?
Okay, Binyam, maybe when you are trying to fix your gadget, we can give the floor to Mr. Jean-Marc, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes, we can hear you, Jean-Marc.
Nema, can you hear us?
Yes, Jean-Marc, we can hear you. Can you please proceed? I think there's a technical problem now, even Jean-Marc, we can't hear you. Ambassador Francisco, can you put your microphone off?
Okay.
Okay, let's try again. Jean-Marc, you can try.
Nema. Nema, can you hear us?
Yes, okay. Yes, you can proceed, please.
Now I'm going to speak in French in order to deepen the knowledge of the council cannot be limited to one language. As a francophone country, Switzerland is also very proud to enunciate, to tell you that we are going to support the translation of this handbook into French and also its publishing. In order to conclude, I would like to reassure the ambassador of Djibouti and Egypt who were asking questions about the future of this handbook. What I can tell you is that Switzerland has already committed itself to support financially the first updating of the Council's handbook. But by that I mean the handbook that you have in your hands right now, which Ambassador Idris had the opportunity to read during his holiday. This is not the first the first and only edition. Let me also emphasize the fact that the work of Amani is an exceptional work that has been carried out in the drafting and publishing of this handbook. And as many of you have said, this is making it possible to deepen and to the understanding, and is going to make more visible the work that the council is carrying out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Mark. And my apology, Binyam. I realized that the technical problem was on my side. So if we can proceed now, Binyam, you have the floor.
Yeah, Binyam, can you unmute your mic? I'm trying to unmute you here.
Bitania, can you still see Binyam there?
No, I can't see him. I think he has logged out.
Nema, is Binyam with us?
Yeah, I think he has left. So maybe we can proceed, Solomon. There are some questions which were raised by some member states. So the floor is yours right now.
Thank you so very much once again. I would like to thank Ambassador for all the kind words that you have said. on the handbook, but also importantly for identifying the areas where we can, when updating the handbook, fill it, including particularly the part on PCRD. You are absolutely right, and I wish at this point also to thank you, Ambassador, for your collaboration and support when you were the chair of the PRC last year, and also when we organized a seminar for your presence and speaking in our seminar as well. So thank you very much, Ambassador. I also have taken note of, indeed, the late Boutros Ghali and his contribution in setting the agenda, particularly in his agenda for peace. Indeed, he articulated the kind of international peace and security order that the UN can pursue, with the role that regional organizations can play, including that of the Organization of African Unity at the time the agenda for peace was articulated. So I have taken note of that with a lot of appreciation, Ambassador. And also, I think your encouragement for us to continue to improve our work, but also to continue to engage with other members of the PSC, and importantly, in thinking about organizing workshops and seminars around the working methods of the PSC, perhaps building on how other similar organizations, such as the UN Security Council, do various aspects of their similar mandates like that of the PSC, so that we identify areas that can be adapted for the situation of the Peace and Security Council to enable it to deliver its mandate even much more effectively than it is doing now. Definitely, we will do that, and I do hope that the handbook also helps in trying to bring the capacity and also the preparedness of all member states to an even level. As you said, there are different capacities and there are different levels of engagement in the PSC. So one of the purposes of this handbook is basically to provide an instrument that helps all member states to have the same level of understanding, the same level of tools that enables them to engage more effectively and more meaningfully in the deliberations and in the workings of the Peace and Security Council. And Ambassador, we would be very happy to collaborate with you and with other members, and also in facilitating the convening of sessions on drafting skills as well. So I think we have taken note of all of these points, Your Excellency, Ambassador of Egypt. Thank you very much as well for all your support in all the times that we have been interacting with you, Ambassador. Ambassador Catherine, I don't have words to thank you, really. You have been very kind and generous in writing this forward for this handbook. And I'm very thrilled to hear that you feel very happy to identify your name with this handbook. There is nothing more gratifying than having a person like you to feel like this with work that we do. And I have to say that it is with a great deal of passion and indeed conviction that we produce our work in pursuit of the goals that have been set in the PSC protocol and I'm happy to see you and other members of the PSC to find what we do contributing to that ideal of the PSC protocol. And I think all that you have said is an encouragement and indeed an embodiment of what we try to convey with this handbook, but you put it in a very beautiful and profound way when you say it demystifies the work of the PSC and the PSC itself. It helps to prepare those who aspire to be in the PSC, and its contribution to institutional memory, because members come in and go out because there is regular rotation, and from that perspective it has, you know, a public record and institutional memory role. And of course, finally, the last word that you said, with this beautiful tool, you are bequeathing not just to the PSC in Africa but also to the world a useful instrument. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those really generous and kind words. And we are happy to associate ourselves fully with you as PSC member, PSC chair, and Ambassador of Kenya. Ambassador Francisco, I would also wish to thank you. Would like also to recognize the collaboration and partnership that Amani had when Angola was the chair of the PSC late last year, and for the interaction that we have had, and for the very useful and kind words that you have put in terms of how this handbook contributes to a principle-based approach to resolution of conflict. I think that principles-based approach to resolution of conflict can be realized only if the work of the PSC is guided by the principles, norms, institutions, and processes set out in the PSC protocol, in the African Union Constitutive Act, and in the various instruments adopted by the African Union. And these are contained in this handbook, and hence the contribution of this handbook to that approach. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would like also to thank His Excellency, the representative of Cameroon, as the deputy head of the Swiss Embassy, Jean-Marc, pointed out. We will have a French version of the handbook as we update the handbook. We will also have, actually, the second edition would be, this one is the 2020 edition. The second edition would be the 2021 edition of the handbook, but it would be updated along the lines that we are discussing, and it would come in both French and English as well. I think those are that is the question that was addressed, Nema. Thank you very much. I think Biniam is ready now.
Good morning. Good morning, Excellencies and colleagues. Even though I was technologically challenged, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to congratulate my brother and friend, Dr. Solomon, Britannia, and all the team that was involved in preparing this handbook. I found it to be a very important tool and an important reference document in regard to the procedures. It compiles many of the decisions, outcome of retreats, and the relevant provisions of the protocol, the Constitutive Act. And most importantly, it also documents the practice and tradition of the PSC, which we were forced to rely on personal memory in the past. The statistical highlights all encapsulated in the document is also important in terms of reminding us the retreats, the partnership, the agenda of the past, and etc. My only recommendation would be, since the AU is already highly involved in the program, as we can see from Neyma's input and the introduction made by the director. I would recommend that it be a joint project with the AU, as we have in the case of the New Zealand Handbook, so that the AU can provide resources and time for sustainable continuation of the document. The second recommendation I have is to expand such engagement
Sorry, Binya, are you done speaking? Oh.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just wait for Nima to come back for a minute. Maybe Ambassador Idris, maybe you can take the floor to conclude the session.
Merci, merci beaucoup. Je pense que notre... Ah, je vois que ma sœur Nema est de retour, donc peut-être que je lui laisserai le soin de conclure, mais je tenais à prendre la parole également à ce stade pour remercier l'ensemble des intervenants et notamment des collègues membres du Conseil de paix et de sécurité ou non, et qui ont pris part à ce séminaire. Je tenais aussi à remercier Jean-Marc et l'ambassade suisse pour la traduction de cet ouvrage. Je pense que c'est quelque chose de fort utile. Comme il l'a si bien dit lui-même, il vient d'un pays francophone, c'est le cas de Djibouti et de bien d'autres. On a entendu également le Cameroun, et je pense que le fait d'avoir au moins dans les deux langues de travail de l'Union africaine, ça ne peut qu'enrichir l'intérêt que cet ouvrage sur la paix et la sécurité pourrait donner à l'ensemble des États membres. Je le disais tout à l'heure, il est important véritablement d'interagir avec notre think tank africain, Solution africaine pour un problème africain. Tout à l'heure, ça a été dit par mon ami Dr Salomon. Je pense que c'est important. Je pense aussi qu'en tant que pays membre de l'Union africaine, nous devrions très certainement, et Binyam l'a dit tout à l'heure, peut-être avoir une interaction dans le cadre d'une retraite avec Amani pour approfondir davantage, pour interagir avec Amani Africa, dans le souci d'un enrichissement beaucoup plus grand. Je pense que c'est quelque chose qui peut être fait. Je sais que le Conseil de paix et de sécurité, lors de l'intégration de nouveaux membres, et c'est là où l'interaction peut être importante. Nous avons l'habitude d'avoir une retraite pour justement briefer les nouveaux membres sur les méthodes de travail du Conseil. Je pense qu'il serait peut-être temps maintenant de réfléchir ensemble sur comment, également lors de ces retraites-là, profiter de la plateforme Amani pour justement aider les États membres nouvellement élus au Conseil de paix et de sécurité d'avoir cet enrichissement qui peut être complémentaire aux méthodes de travail du Conseil de paix et de sécurité élaborées par la Commission pour les nouveaux membres. Je pense que cette réflexion, nous devrons la mener. Ce que nous proposons à Amani est un challenge formidable, c'est un outil formidable. Je pense que nous devrons utiliser cette expérience et ce fonds sur le document que Amani pourrait donner ou partager avec les nouveaux membres du Conseil. Tout à l'heure, l'ambassadeur Catherine, ambassadeur de Djibouti, disait qu'il y a 5 à 6 pays fortement impliqués dans les discussions du Conseil de paix et de sécurité. Je pense qu'avec l'enrichissement que Amani pourrait apporter lors de ces retraites-là, je pense que ça permettra aux États membres de l'Union africaine de jouer pleinement le rôle. Cette richesse supplémentaire, méthode de travail faite par la Commission pour le nouveau membre, et également cette expérience de Amani qui pourrait être partagée. Et donc, ça revient automatique pour les nouveaux membres du Conseil, mais même au-delà, les membres de l'Union africaine, à toujours avoir le réflexe de vers Amani pour un complément d'information et pour avoir une expérience très enrichissante pour eux, qui leur permettrait d'être à l'aise dans les discussions. J'ai voulu partager à haute voix la réflexion qui me venait à l'esprit et la manière d'aller ensemble de l'avant. Je pense que c'est quelque chose de très important que nous avons utilisé. Mon frère Salomon et son équipe pour le travail. Merci aussi la Commission de l'Union africaine et tous les et j'encourage le Dr Salomon et son équipe à poursuivre l'élan extraordinaire qui a été mis en place, cette volonté manifeste de toujours pouvoir aider les États membres de l'Union africaine à partir qui devraient être les siennes. Merci beaucoup et j'étais très heureux aujourd'hui d'être avec vous. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We had the challenge with the interpretation, but I think everything has been recorded and we take into consideration especially the comments which have been given by all member states, and the last one was Eritrea. And I think Dr. Solomon and his team were going to work on all the comments and see how we can now come to the larger or bigger launch of this book. We really appreciate your excellencies for your time. I know you have very busy schedule, but you save time to come and join Dr. Solomon and his team to make sure that this event happens. We really appreciate that. And thank you, our interpreter, Mr. Nyamabo, for your good effort to make sure that this event is successful. I appreciate and I declare that this meeting for today is closed. I know Ambassador Mohammed is you always declare PSC meetings are closed. Today is my turn. So this event is closed until next time when we come to the larger launching event. Thank you very much all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambak. Thank you, Nema. Yes, we will have a bigger launching event, but this was the most important one because the audience and the target is members of the PSC and member states of the AU. Thank you very much once again. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you, Ambassador. Really.